This was my life, and I wrote a book about it. I grew up during the 1930s, during what is known now as the Great Depression, the financial depression that was the worst this country ever suffered. There aren't very many people alive who remember those days, but people ask me a great deal about it since I was there. I'm 97 years old, and so they think I know a lot about it, what I do. So I wrote the book, and I did not hold back anything. I tell exactly how it was in rural Northbrook and in Chicago, then the second largest city in the country, exactly how it was. It was tough for many people, but we lived through it because we stuck together. This book tells how it was. I grew up in Northbrook, Illinois, living on a peony farm. We were about 20 miles north of Chicago. Life was tough. It was known as hard times, both in Northbrook and in Chicago. When we came to Northbrook in 1924, the town had a population of about 1,000, maybe a little less, maybe a little more. The streets were paved with dirt. The sidewalks downtown were wood. They were wooden sidewalks, but the streets were dirt. Even the main street downtown, which was Shermer Road, was dirt during the time it was dry and mud when it rained. The businesses were located mostly along Shermer Road. They were two-story buildings for the most part, where the owner of the business lived on the second floor and the business down below. And food, of course, was much cheaper then. Gasoline was about 16 cents a gallon for regular and 17 cents for the high-test gas, which was called ethyl in those days. I went to school in a one-room school, typical of rural America at that time. It was Grove School, one room and one teacher and about 43 kids in the time I went there. But we also had teeter-totters and swings and slides and so forth. That was just part of life, and we loved it there. The one-room school wasn't all that bad. In fact, it was great. Entertainment during the Depression days consisted, of course, there were movies. Some of the best movies ever made were produced during those Depression years. But there was also entertainment on the radio. Those were the early days of the soap operas. Little 15-minute programs like Ma Perkins, Argyle Sunday, and others in which they portrayed people who had problems similar to the people who lived during the Depression. There was also a lot of entertainment, local entertainment. I remember my mother and dad were in one of the plays, and they had a lot of audience. They had a lot of people attend those shows and enjoy them. I didn't hold anything back in my book at all. I told exactly the way it was. Good things, bad things, and in-between things. Not everything that happened during the 1930s was bad. In my book, I tell about the day I was 12 in 1933, the day I took the streetcar alone from my grandparents' home on Monticello Avenue in Chicago to the Chicago World's Fair. It turned out to be a wonderful day I would remember all the rest of my life. Despite the Depression, the Chicago World's Fair was a great success and was held again the following year in 1934. They were times that forged the lives of many American people, men and women, who became some of the greatest people this country ever produced. Their lives were determined how they were going to live in later life by how they grew up during the Depression. I hope my video stimulated your interest in the history a little bit. The Great Depression days were a long time ago. People living today, of course, don't remember them. And I tell in my book how it was. I don't hold anything back. I tell exactly how it was for the people of all ages and all social groups too. So you can get my book at Amazon or you can get it on my website, which is www.newedmedia. Thanks for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you enjoy the book.